Hey guys, Retired at 40, welcome back to the van build. Today we're going to put a bed in, and I'm going to make mine modular so it comes out real nice and easy in case I want to use the van as a van instead of a camper. So before I start building, I want to show you what I got for a mattress. I'll put a link down in the description of this type of mattress. It's made by Lucid. It's a gel memory foam, and this is the full size because this is the biggest size that I can fit for my configuration. It looks real tiny right now, but we'll give it some time to kind of expand. It's already starting to blow up a little bit. 52 inches. So I'm going to do mine a little bit different than I've seen quite a few done, just because I need to utilize as much space as possible, because this is the shorty version. This is the 118 inch version, and I don't have quite as much room as the 136 or the 154. The biggest bed I can fit is a full-size bed, which is 52 inches. So my cleat, I'm going to measure 43.5 inches, and I'm going to use these holes right here with screws to hold that cleat up. So I'm going to square it up pretty much where I want it to be. I'm going to mark it with a Sharpie. Front here, I'm going to kind of mark what needs to be routed out for this to sit in here flush with the metal. So now that I've got it marked on the front, I can kind of draw a straight line on the back. I know where that starts, and just kind of trace the same mark on the back. I'm just routering out about 1/4 inch so it'll sit flat on this part right here. So there's our piece we routed out. This will just go right into here. And now it fits nice and clean on there. And now we can start hanging this cleat. So I'm going to mark my holes that we want to use, which are right here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then once I've got it sitting where I want it to sit, I'm going to mark it out on the 2x. And then I'm going to measure how far down they are from the line. This one's about 1 1/8 inch, which means this one should also be about 1 1/8 inch, and then these 3 center ones are about 1/2 inch. Then I'm going to take a speed square and I'm going to bring that line down on both sides, so on the top, and then use that as my mark for the front, which is where we actually need the mark. I'm going to use my speed square to mark out my 1 1/8 for the 2 on the end. And then on the 3 centers, we're only 1/2 inch down. Use the speed square at 1/2 inch. And then the hardware that I'm going to use is 5/16. It's going to be a 2 inch long bolt. You're going to want 2 washers on each one with 1 lock washer. So I'm going to need a 5/16 drill bit to drill these holes throughout, and then we're going to step up a couple sizes bigger to make this so it will countersink into there. So what that allows us to do is drop our bolt into there with the washer on. It also flush mounts the bolt, and it gives us room to get an open end wrench or a socket in there at a later time or right now. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to hang it with just 1 screw, and I'm going to eyeball all these holes to make sure that they are lined up. If they're off even just a little bit, it will be very hard to keep this square and level all the way across. Alright, so we've got this side's cleat done, and what's really great about the Promaster, this side is a mirror image of this side in the rear. So really all you have to do is just mirror this cutout and these drill holes onto this one, which makes everything super easy. So with any luck, you've got identical pieces. I'm going to sand them down before I put them in, because having a splinter up in the mountains is no fun. And part of the reason why I want this all to be modular is if I ever want to change anything, if anything ever breaks, if I need to get to any kind of mechanical or electrical or anything like that in the future, I can easily get to it by pulling a panel off and pulling some insulation, and I have full access to everything. So while I've got this all opened up for the bed, I'm going to go ahead and insulate that bottom part, and then once I get the cleat put back on, I'll insulate the top part. Before I hang this cleat back up, This panel actually has to go on because this is using the same holes as the cleat does. So this corner one is real tricky because your access hole is actually under the panel. That was not very fun. It's a lot easier if you have someone hold this up so you can feed your hand up through there, but now we can tighten the cleat down. So the next thing I need to do is start mocking up my bed, and I've kind of cut a scrap piece of plywood down to at least the longest size that I need. So because this is the 118 model, it's quite a bit shorter than the 136. So I really have to utilize every single little space that I possibly can. And my other requirement, if you've watched the other videos, is that I want everything to be completely removable so I can use this as a van's purpose, not just a camper, because this is going to be a daily driver for me as well. So most importantly right now, I need to get this angle cut so this will slide all the way back to the doors, and I want to do it on this scrap piece of plywood instead of the good piece of plywood, and that way I can get the angle, I can get a template, and basically just trace it. Pretty close. You can see my mark that I made. I didn't cut that out yet just because I wanted to make sure. I just did a simple 45. Same thing on the other side. It's all lined up, so just a couple minor adjustments and we'll be good to go. So we're getting real close, but this handle is the next thing that's in the way, and I also want this to be big enough so you can reach your hand down here and open the door if you're laying in the bed. Alright, I think it's a winner. I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it on the good piece of plywood. I'm using 3/4 inch pine laminated finished sanded plywood. I've got my 2 laminated pieces of plywood. You want to put the 2 ugliest sides together because we put liquid nails in between, and then we're going to staple them together. I've also cut it down to the longest part of this way across the bed, and then I've added 1 inch so I have a little fluff room. Reason being is I want to glue these together. I want to have them stapled before I cut anything, and that way when you cut, you're cutting through both of them and you're not trying to match it up. Alright, so I've got both laminated pieces glued together, and then I put my template on top, and then I clamp that down so I can trace this and I can trace out all of my cutouts that I made on the template, and it'll turn out just the same exact way, but it will be 2 pieces thick and it'll give us plenty of rigidity. Well, after sanding and routing and cutting and staining all afternoon, I finally got this all done. It looks really good though. Here's a close-up of what the laminated sides look like. I put a layer of tung oil on it because I really like tung oil. It doesn't stain it, it just kind of coats it, makes it a little bit more protected for water. This thing really fits good. I'm really happy with it. It's super strong, and it'll be even more strong once we get these storage cabinets on the side. So let's see how the back fits. So there's our corners. It snugs up real nice to the back of the door. Gives you access to the handle and the other corner. And this makes it so you can reach down in here if you're sleeping, and you can open the door. So in order to make this fit, I've got to trim a part of each section of the mattress. So I'm actually just going to take this drop off that I cut off, and this should be roughly the same size. Alright, now the most important part. How does it sleep? It's actually pretty comfy. So I took the van for a test drive this morning, and it was the first time I had driven it since I put the bed in, and I noticed that the bed, since it has wood frames and the bed itself is wood, that it rattles a little bit. So I'm going to cut some pieces of carpet, some rubber backing carpet, and stick them underneath the rails to just kind of keep it quiet But the good news is the van ride's really quiet now with all the insulation. One more suggestion, just for safety, I'm going to put 6 of these, and I'm going to pop them through the top of the bed down through here with a wing nut so I can get access to it if I don't have a wrench or whatever. But you know, if you ever get in a wreck, the last thing you want is the momentum of all this stuff that's inside here coming up to the cab or to your passengers. So this just gives you a little bit better peace of mind knowing that this is fastened down and this bed can't go anywhere. So I've had the chance to sleep in this bed quite a few times now, and I gotta say that it suits my wife and I just fine. I would say that if you're a little bit heavier person, I would probably recommend getting a thicker mattress, but the bed for us has been great so far. We've slept in it probably 5 or 6 times now. Take a moment to subscribe if you haven't already. We do the van build and you get to join me and my family on our journey through retirement at the age of 40. And also make sure that you tune in next week. We're going to put 2 new windows in the Promaster and I'm going to show you how to do that. In the meantime, this is Retired at 40. Remember to live life simple. We'll catch you next week.